Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought we would have a look around the new test drive that is available for all ground vehicles when it comes to the new update, Direct Hit. And the new test drive is a big improvement over the other one. It's not something which is, crazy high tech or anything like that, but it does offer a ton of differences compared to the other one. First of all, you got a supply point, which is something that seems so simple, but is incredibly effective. It's one of those things which is really nice to see, especially if you're using vehicles which have pretty low ammo, so you're able to actually get your stuff back where you couldn't before. There's also a variety of vehicles which are very similar to what we've seen before in other test drives, nothing really too different when it comes to that stuff. Pretty much exactly the same vehicles, depending on what BR you're at, depends on what vehicles that you see. And I think that's fine. Would be nice if there was some customization involved. There's a little bit of a river that you can ford here, which is pretty nice. And there's a few little hidden things in the test drive that you're not normally, I suppose, going to see when it comes to just using it. But overall, there is quite a lot of nice stuff. You also have some new sounds, so you might be hearing it right now. As you go over ground, you can hear the rumble, which is really nice. And then when you enter the water, you also have a watery sound. You've also got a bunker over here with a bunch of trenches and everything, which I don't think you're generally going to use that much. But here's the water. Sounds like a bit of glugging, which is pretty nice. There's a few places where you can cross the river around here, but there is actually one spot over there which says, well, looks like a crossing, but you're not actually able to, so be careful of that area. And also there's a few other features, like for example, there's a bunker up here with a ton of trenches that you can traverse and have a look at. There's a few other ones which are all burnt out, and then obviously the vehicles themselves which are around. And I don't know if they did anything to trenches, but the trenches are so much easier to traverse compared to before, which is really, really nice. There's a ton of wooded areas as well. There isn't too much in them. In one of the areas, there is something which is a little bit special, but nothing too crazy. But the main thing, I think, when it comes to this test drive, it definitely leaves room for improvement. You have the fact that you have the general vehicles that unfortunately you can't customize. You have more terrain, which is either up or down, depending on the altitude you want to fight from, which is cool. You have generally different conditions. You have a little bit of mud back there. You have the general grass area. You also have a road area over there that you can go on, which means that you can test your vehicles in all different conditions. You can work out if vehicles are able to actually climb certain hills or go down certain hills. And for me, I think that's actually really cool. It just once again gives you more of an atmosphere of a actual testing area instead of just a place that you shoot tanks and then go. They still have a mobile vehicle, normally an AA, at higher tiers over there, but also at lower tiers it's a Panzer IV in general, or a region's equivalent. And up here you have a little bit of a village, but it doesn't really do anything. It's just kind of overlooking this area here, which is quite nice. But as I said, doesn't really do too much. Some of it can be destructible, some of it isn't. Maybe you can work out what you can destroy and what you can't. But it's just a nice little firing position, I suppose, if you want to test your range on the tanks over there, even if, they are the backsides of it. You also have some nice looks over here in the form of rocks and also grass and forests and stuff. Nothing too crazy, just something that is a little bit nice when it comes to the scenery. Like maybe you can use this as a point to once again shoot over here, work out distances, try and get used to specific guns. And then you have the forested area. There is a road going through the forested area. It's a mud road, and then you've got another one which goes way more north, but it goes straight into water, which is a zone that you can't get to. This map reminds me much more of a spin tires type deal than the other one, which was just a flat plane. I think it's a big improvement over what we've actually seen before. The other thing is, as I said, once again, they could add more stuff around here. They can add more moving vehicles. They could add maybe stationary vehicles. They could add maybe civilian vehicles. Everything could be possible from this point. And maybe at some point they will actually attach it to the actual hangar itself, so it's easy to traverse into it and go from there. Here's another crossing point that you can do. Basically, if you see these areas like the bridge destroyed, it normally means that you can move across. And as I said, there's a solid road here, so it's just easier to move around instead of getting stuck and not really being able to do anything. You've also got another burnt out bunker. Pretty much all of the bunkers on this map are completely burnt out. There's nothing too crazy about them. You can hear the sound difference between being on mud and also being in road here, where on road it's a lot more rumbly and you can obviously gain way more speed. There's another way to that hill over there, but you can't actually get to it. I wonder if at some point someone's going to make a map of this where you can go to those outer areas, see what's over there. I'm sure that they will. Up here we have some burnt out buildings and also some not so burnt out ones. You also have a few planes roaming around with any type of vehicles, so you can actually test stuff like the Heat FS with the proximity if you want on the Abrams on the vehicles, just to see if you can hit them. And you can see the difference between mobility when it comes to the road and when it comes to mud, where it's just so much nicer to be on roads. In the south of the map, it's pretty much the same. There's an open plain, there's a forest, and then obviously a vehicle on a hill. And then we have over here and over this little area, there is a little bit of a crossing point that is supposed to be there. Whether it is or not is obviously up for debate. You can see that some roads actually lead to this bit, but there isn't too much here to kind of show that there is one. So when you actually try and cross here, let's see if it's too deep or not. Now you can actually cross here as long as you stick to the area. There is a broken bridge which is up there. Now this broken bridge, I thought you could cross it, but it will just kill you if you actually do that. This area you can't cross at all when it comes to it. You just go straight down and die. But this is good for amphibious vehicles. You know, you can test them out and see what's going on. But just to kind of show you, as you can see, you're just going to drown if you go across. There's going to be no winning from that point for your MBTs. You're just going to die. So don't do that. There is another crossing. It's not really a crossing, it's more of a brute force crossing, I think is the way I would put it over here. There's a little bit of a infantry crossing, and you can get across and stuff like the Abrams, but it's more if you don't do it fast enough, you're just gonna die from drowning. Like, it's too deep for you to actually cross, but because it doesn't take you as much time to get across, you can actually make it just by, you know, going normally, just because the river itself has quite a thin head here. So the infantry bridge obviously doesn't work for your vehicle, but what does work for your vehicle is brute force. And this also shows the water effects on the Abrams itself and on all vehicles. They've always looked really nice, so I'm glad that they have added that in. There's also some targets on this side of the map, as I said before. You have a Shilka, and also you have yourself another vehicle, which is going to be like an MBT or an MBT-like machine. The Shilka just wanders around this practice area until you shoot it, and then it just is pretty much done. And then up here, as I said, you have the MBT, which is sat on the hill. So it just kind of chills there. That's a T90, I believe. So it's just chilling until you hit the thing and take it out. So there's nothing really much else up there. It's just a little bit of an area where you can kind of sit and just see what's going on. There's kind of like a little bit of rolling hills here, but not huge ones. There's nothing too crazy back here either. It's just a little bit more forest, some more rolling hills, so you can maybe work out the traversability of your MBTs for machines, for maps like Fulda Gap, where you have to cross a lot of this terrain. And up in the east, it's very similar to this area. There's really nothing truly going on. Hopefully they do something with it in the future. The only interesting part of this area is the center of this forest area, around about E5. It was kind of interesting. I was on stream earlier and we were having a look around and people kept telling me, hey, you need to go to E5, there's a castle there. I was like, oh, a castle, alright, well, you know, that's something interesting. Maybe we can go and have a look. And we checked out the bunker with all the trenches first, and that was, you know, pretty cool. There's a massive hole here, so once again you can work out if your vehicle can get up the other side, which I'm sure many will actually get stuck in. But then when it came to actually reaching the castle, what we actually found was not really a castle at all. It's at best a tower. It's got a little tent with it, which is cool. Obviously this is somebody's hut, and they've just been chopping firewood, and a little campfire here. But this is the castle which people were talking about. Now, at best, this is a tower, or something like that. At worst, it's a windmill. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be a windmill, but, you know, at least it's something nice in the environment, something different. And it also has a box in it with 2 wonderful arrows, so there you go. A few cans and things like that, a little bit of detail put in, just randomly. A few logs, obviously somebody lives here, has a great time. Unfortunately, they are no longer living here, thanks to the power of the Abrams. But yeah, so you've got that little area with the tower, or castle, as people called it. And then the only other area you really have is this bit up here where you can kind of test your, I suppose, maneuverability when it comes to going over trenches. There's a lot of First World War style trenches up here, and obviously they did build them in the Second World War too, but they're much more famous from their use in the First World War. Not just small trenches for individuals to, you know, go down and go over, but more trenches which are fully widened, fully dug out, and used for much more defensive capabilities. So you can see here how wide a lot of these trenches are compared to what we saw before. And in something like the Abrams, you can actually get along them, showing, you know, how big these things are. Like these are not small trenches at all. These remind me of the ones which were left behind in northern France in the First World War after the war was won. And so you have wood all around them. You obviously have the bunker there with the shut door. But yeah, it's just a nice little tidbit of area, which I think is really, really nice. But that is the new test drive area. It's a massive improvement over the other one. Hopefully, at some point, we get some more improvements to it. I'm sure we will. This is a wonderful area and much better. Thank you for watching, and have a lovely day. I'd like to thank BRFC, Swollen Ostrich, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Conte Baraka, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Lafouche, Barine, and Samuel Schlick for supporting the channel.